Dear viewers, hope you are all doing well. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon us all. Among the most successful and powerful rulers of Islam, none other than Hazrat Umar ibn al-Khattab, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, the lion who guarded Islam and was given the title al-Farooq, the one who distinguishes truth from falsehood. Prophet Muhammad, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, once says, if there was to have a prophet after me, it would have been Umar ibn al-Khattab. Long before he became the second Caliph of Islam, Umar ibn al-Khattab was a man known for his towering presence, his fierce temper, and his unshakable strength. Today, we will discuss the entire legacy of Umar ibn al-Khattab. I hope you will stay with us until the end of this video. Umar was born around 584 CE, into the noble Quraysh tribe in Mecca. His father, al-Khattab ibn Nufail, was a strict and tough man, and his mother, Hantama bint Hisham, was from a respected lineage. Unlike many of the Quraysh who could not read or write, Umar was among the few who became literate. He grew up learning poetry, genealogy, and the art of war. Physically, Umar was tall, broad-shouldered, and powerful. People often said he could strike fear into anyone just by walking into a room. By the time he became a young man, he was already known as a skilled wrestler, horseman, and swordsman. But Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, was not just brawn, he was intelligent, sharp, and decisive. These traits would one day serve Islam in ways no one could have imagined. When the Prophet Muhammad began spreading Islam, Umar was one of its fiercest enemies. He saw Islam as a threat to the unity of Quraysh and to their way of life. He insulted Muslims, persecuted the weak, and openly declared his hatred for Muhammad. At one point, his anger grew so intense that he decided he would kill the Prophet himself. Sword in hand, he marched through the streets of Mecca, determined to silence Islam forever. But on the way, he was stopped by a man who asked, "Where are you going, Umar?" "To kill Muhammad." Umar replied. The man said, "Before that, perhaps you should look to your own family, for your sister and her husband have accepted his religion." This news stopped Umar cold. Fuming with rage, he stormed into his sister Fatima's house, where he found her and her husband, Saidi ibn Zayd, reciting verses from the Quran. When Umar struck his brother-in-law, his sister jumped to defend him. "Blooded but unbroken," she said firmly. "Yes, Umar, we have believed in Allah and His Messenger. Do whatever you wish." Something in her courage pierced his heart. For the first time, Umar felt a crack in his fury. He asked to see what they were reading. At first, they refused, but when he insisted, Fatima said, "You are unclean. Purify yourself before touching the Quran." Umar washed himself, then read the verses from Surah Taha. "Indeed, I am Allah. There is no deity except me, so worship me and establish prayer for my remembrance." Quran 20:14. The words shook him. The same man who had come to destroy Islam now felt his heart soften toward it. Without hesitation, Umar went straight to the house where the Prophet Muhammad and his companions were gathered. When he knocked, the companions inside were terrified. This was Umar, the enemy of Islam. But the Prophet allowed him in. Umar walked in, still carrying his sword. The companions surrounded him cautiously. Then Umar looked directly at the Messenger of Allah and declared, "I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger." The room erupted in joy. Umar's conversion changed everything. From that day, the Muslims, who had prayed in secret, began praying openly at the Kaaba, with Umar at the front. His bravery gave Islam a new strength. People began calling him Al-Farooq, the one who distinguishes truth from falsehood. Umar became one of the Prophet's closest advisors. He defended Islam fiercely, never afraid to speak his mind. He suggested the call to prayer adhan. He argued for the compilation of the Quran after the Prophet's death, and he stood firm in justice even against his own family. He was also known for his deep humility. Though strong and feared, Umar would weep when reciting the Quran. Though stern, he would soften at the remembrance of Allah. When Abu Bakr al-Siddiq, may Allah be pleased with him, became the first Caliph after the Prophet's death, Umar served as his right hand. Together, they stabilized the Muslim community during the most fragile time in history. But Abu Bakr's time was short. As his health declined, he chose Umar as his successor, the man who would become the second Caliph of Islam. When Umar took leadership, the Muslim world was small compared to the mighty empires of Persia and Byzantium. Many thought the Muslims would collapse without the Prophet. But under Umar's leadership, Islam entered a new age of expansion, justice, and strength. He reformed governance, established public welfare, and ruled with such justice that people said, even if a mule stumbled on the road of Iraq, Umar would be questioned by Allah about it. But his caliphate was not without struggles. Wars, conspiracies, and betrayals awaited him. The world was about to witness the rise of Islam like never before. When Umar ibn al-Khattab became Caliph after Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, the Muslim community held its breath. The world outside was vast and hostile, the Byzantine Empire in the west, the Persian Empire in the east. Both superpowers looked at the Muslims as nothing more than desert tribesmen who would soon fade away. But under Umar's rule, Islam would not only survive, it would shock the world. In just a few years, Umar led campaigns that shattered the mightiest powers of his age. At Yarmouk, 636 CE against the Byzantines, the Muslims fought with unmatched discipline and faith. The battle raged for days, dust and blood clouding the air, until the Byzantine army collapsed. Syria, once under the cross, now welcomed Islam. At Qadisiyah, 636 CE facing the Persian Empire, Umar's generals fought a battle so fierce that the ground trembled with the charge of elephants and the clash of steel. By the end, the Persian military machine was broken, and the road to Ctesiphon, the capital, lay open. One by one, Persia's great cities fell. The mighty empires that had once ruled the world now crumbled before the discipline, faith, and justice of Islam. But Umar was no ordinary conqueror. Unlike rulers of old, Umar cared nothing for palaces or luxury. He lived in a modest home, wore patched clothes, and often slept under the shade of a tree in Medina with no guards. Foreign emissaries would arrive expecting a king draped in jewels, only to find Umar lying on the ground, his head resting on a rock. "Where is your Caliph?" they would ask. And the Muslims would point, "There he is." Stunned, the emissaries would whisper, "A man who fears Allah needs no guards." Umar established systems that still influence the world today. The Hijri calendar based on the migration, Hijra. Courts and judges to ensure justice for all. A public treasury, Beit al-Mal, to distribute wealth fairly. Stipends for the poor, orphans, and widows from state funds. He would patrol the streets at night in disguise, listening to the struggles of ordinary people. More than once, he carried sacks of flour on his own back to feed hungry families, refusing to let anyone else bear the load. Despite his greatness, Umar feared Allah's judgment deeply. He often said, "If a mule were to stumble on the road in Iraq, I fear that Allah would ask me, 'Why did you not pave the road for it, Umar?'" His heart trembled at the weight of leadership. But as the Muslim empire grew, so did the enemies, both outside and inside. Not everyone was pleased with Umar's strict justice. His refusal to give special privileges angered some. His humility shamed the arrogant. And among the conquered lands were people who carried deep resentment. Quietly, in the shadows, a plot began to take shape. One man in particular, Abu Lulu, a Persian slave, nursed a dark hatred in his heart. He approached Umar one day, complaining about the heavy taxes his master imposed. Umar, ever just, promised to investigate. But bitterness consumed the man, and in his soul grew a plan of vengeance. One evening, as Umar walked the streets of Medina, he gazed at the stars above. He confided to those near him, "I do not know if I am among the people of paradise or the people of hell." He wept in prayer, his forehead pressed to the ground, unaware that destiny was already drawing near. And then came the morning. The mosque filled with believers for Fajr prayer. Umar, as always, stood at the front to lead them. The rows were straight, the air quiet with anticipation of worship. But hidden among the worshippers was a man with a blade. It was the year 23 AH. The dawn of Medina broke like any other. The believers gathered in the masjid of the Prophet, their rows straightened, their hearts ready for Fajr prayer. As always, Umar ibn al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, the commander of the faithful, stepped forward to lead. He recited the opening takbir, his voice steady, filling the mosque with the remembrance of Allah. But among the worshippers stood a man with a heart full of hatred, Abu Luluar al-Majusi, a Persian slave. Hidden in his robe was a dagger with two sharp blades. When Umar went into sujood, the man lunged. He struck Umar again and again, 6 times, one of the blows piercing deep beneath his navel. Umar collapsed, his voice breaking. "The dog has killed me." Sahih al-Bukhari 3700. The assassin then turned wildly, stabbing others in the congregation until he was overpowered and killed. As Umar fell, he was carried to his home. Blood flowed heavily, and the companions knew his wound was fatal. Yet Umar's heart was not on this world. His greatest worry was, had he fulfilled his duty before Allah? He asked his son, Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, "Go to Aisha, radiallahu ta'ala anha, mother of the believers. Tell her, Umar requests to be buried beside his 2 companions. But do not say Amir al-Mu'minin, leader of the believers. For I am no longer their leader." Sahih al-Bukhari 1392. Abdullah went, and Aisha wept. She said, "I had reserved that place for myself. But today, I will prefer Umar over myself." When Abdullah returned with her permission, Umar raised his hands in gratitude. "All praise is due to Allah, who did not deny me this blessing." As the pain grew unbearable, people praised him for his justice and leadership. But Umar wept and said, "By Allah, I would give all the gold on earth if I could leave this world free of blame, neither owing anything nor having anything owed to me." Musnad Ahmed 347. Then he turned to Abdullah and instructed, "Place my cheek on the ground." When his son hesitated, Umar said, "Do not delay. Woe to you and woe to your mother. Place my cheek on the ground, that perhaps Allah may have mercy on me." Ibn Sa'd, Tabakat al-Kubra. And so Umar lay with his face in the dust, the soil of Medina against his skin. With his final breaths he whispered, "Woe to Umar, and woe to Umar's mother, if Allah does not forgive him." Moments later, the soul of Al-Farooq left his body. He was buried beside the Messenger of Allah and Abu Bakr al-Siddiq, may Allah be pleased with him, fulfilling his final wish. To this day, 3 of the greatest men in Islam rest side by side in Al-Masjid an-Nabawi. Umar's life was a living example of the Quran's command. Indeed, Allah commands you to render trusts to whom they are due, and when you judge between people to judge with justice. Surah An-Nisa 458. And the Prophet had foretold his martyrdom. "I saw myself in a dream drawing water from a well with a bucket, and Abu Bakr came and drew 1 or 2 buckets weekly. Then Umar ibn al-Khattab came, and the bucket turned into a very large one in his hand. I had never seen a strong man among the people working as Umar did, until the people drank to their satisfaction and the well was brimful." Sahih al-Bukhari 3682. This dream was fulfilled. Under Abu Bakr, Islam survived. Under Umar, it expanded and flourished until the world drank from its justice. In today's video, we discuss the life and event that took place during the time of Umar. We also discuss how fierce he was before his conversion to Islam. We talked about his conversion to Islam upon reading the Quran in his sister's house. We also talk about how his conversion gave Muslims the courage to practice their faith openly, and he was given the title Al-Farooq, the one who distinguishes truth from falsehood. We also talk about how he led with justice, humility, and make many reforms such as the Hijra calendar, public welfare, and a strong judicial system. We are also able to cover how Islam spread rapidly under his rule, defeating both the Byzantine and Persian empires. Yet Umar himself lived simply, often patrolling the streets at night to care for the needy. And lastly, we are able to cover about his demise, how Umar passed away with his face on the ground in humility before Allah. Umar ibn al-Khattab, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, will forever be remembered as a leader whose justice and faith transformed the Muslim world forever. Dear viewer, if this story interests you, let us know in the comment section how you feel about this video and subscribe for more Islamic story.